Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of What's on Your Plates. I have a very special gift to share with you today, that of which is the very inspiring conversation I had with Chef Liz Arraj. I was so honored that she shared her time to tell me about her personal and professional plant-based journey and how it has all transformed her whole life. She leaves us with so much light, such great perspective. I'm grateful to be able to share her awesomeness with you today. Okay, here with Elizabeth Arraj from Terra Veg Eatery, one of my just spirit sisters out there in the world. I just feel so connected to you. Welcome and thank you for joining me today and letting everybody listen in and get a glimpse of all the awesomeness that you put out into the world.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I feel the same about you too. So yeah, this is cool.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. Yeah. Tell me where you became inspired to start your journey. How did you find yourself embarking on your path?
Well, I mean, back up 10, 11 years ago, the short version is that, I was having major health issues, and I found this book called Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Furman, and I read it and read it and read it. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to try doing this extreme plant-based, diet that he recommended. And I tried it, and it made me go back into my kitchen and recreate recipes and how I looked at food. And then I was like, well, I wonder if there's any vegan culinary things happening. And I'm in Oregon, so where I live, it's cow country. So you can
not
imagine,
like Portland.
No. So you can imagine my shock when I did find like this vegan culinary immersion thing by this awesome chef that I didn't know at the time up in Portland. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go here and totally get out of my comfort zone and see what this is all about. And that's what really got me started on looking at food, recreating food, and really like learning. Like it was like a whole new world for me. Mm-hmm. And in the process, getting my health back. So I guess that's really not a short version, but
it's worth every second of hearing it though. It's so important.
So I took like a 5-day training thing, and I met you. You were assistant for Chef Mark. And I remember the first time I met you too, because you wore this shirt that I actually own this shirt now. And it was like vegan for the planet, for, like had all this. I'm like, I'm like, she's got like this rockin' attitude and like super positive, just kind of standing in the background, just quiet, helping Chef Mark. And I was like, I wonder who this chick is, And I remember like totally out of my comfort zone and learning a lot and meeting cool people. And then I went home and I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I did a couple more like 10-day trainings with Chef Mark. And then I became his assistant once when he did a training in Kauai. And I was like, nice. He asked me, he's like, do you want to I'll give you a discount. And I was like, a venue right on the beach. All right. It's January in Klamath Falls, Oregon, where it's a ton of snow. So yeah, sure. Right. So in the process of that, I reached out to one of the community college here, and I was like, hey, what do you guys think about me coming in and doing vegan culinary classes? And at the time they had a culinary program, and I didn't hear anything back for them. So I'm like, okay, I guess that's the answer there. Well, months down the road, like 6 months down the road, they got a new community education director, and she's found my old email and emailed me and was like,
Oh,
are you still interested in doing this? And I was like, yeah. And so I took Mark's teacher training, and but like he always used to say, he's like, start off small, stuffed animals, then you graduate to children and family members when you're starting to teach. So I was like totally out of my comfort zone. And it's like one of those things, like, I know I want to do it, but I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I created this whole 6-week class, and the local newspaper at the time did a little article around the world in 8 weeks, and because each class was a different country.
right. I remember that. I remember following your posts on that.
Yeah. And so like I asked, Mark, if I'm like, hey, can I use some of your recipes? He's like, yeah, sure. So the first class I did, I was of course a nervous wreck, and I picked it apart. And then the second class, I changed like 50% of how I taught the class. And I still teach that same way years later. It's been like 7-8 years now.
Yeah.
And so I was teaching that. And then I was creating my class at a local little cafe, and they had a kitchen spot that opened up, and they asked me, hey, do you want this position? And I was like, well, sure. And so
Yeah.
I worked there I started off just part-time, and then I went into running the kitchen, and I worked there for over 3 years. And then, I saw the demand because we get a lot of travelers, and people were like, oh, this is great. You have vegan options, available. And, but my bosses didn't like it too much because, the word around town was that, oh, you're like really do a lot of vegan stuff. So they didn't like that too much. They took me into their office and gave me a little talking to about all the vegan options I was offering. And I was like, this is a sign of the universe, because now I'm pissed. Because I'm like, I'm providing your customers what they want. They're requesting it. This is a sign of the times. Like, we need to become more aware of what's happening in the world. Mm-hmm. And it's more than just food. It's about like sustainability. It's about trying to work with people that grow food close to you, like it's all of these things. It's like so layered, and like most things that get me out of my comfort zone, I have to get, really mad first. And then I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna do my own thing. And then I'm looking around, I'm like, where am I going to do that? Here in this town. And I knew of an empty building. So I messaged the owner, and she's like, well, I'm not interested in leasing, so I'm selling it. And my mom's like, well, how come you don't just buy it? I'm like, because that costs money,
Yeah, right.
So with the help of my mother, though, I bought this little brick building that sits on 3 city lots, and it has a huge backspace. So like, nice. When I was doing my pros and cons of creating, totally losing my mind and creating my own business, I was like, do a food truck or brick and mortar. I'm like, food truck, I can't teach classes, and I got to put my food in a box. And then here comes the pandemic, and I'm like, I can't have indoor seating, and I got to put my food in a box. So I was kind of like, good thing I'm stubborn. So, yeah, I made it a full year, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, no indoor dining. Right. So that was fun. So it's been like this roller coaster ride of like, basically just feeling frustrated, but going, I'm just going to keep on going and see what happens, you know? And I still feel like that actually, you know, it's just like, I'm like, I started teaching a bunch recently, and I actually like teaching more than food service because the people are, you know, like my philosophy is like, I want people to realize that when they walk into my place that you're not just grabbing food to eat, you know, that it means more than that. Like it's about, you know, you're taking a minute out of your busy day to nourish yourself with some organic food, and you're gonna, you know, fuel your body so you're energetic to, you know, kick butt in the rest of your day. But you're also, if you're taking stuff to go, you're getting it, you know, a box that you can put in the compost, you know, like all these little steps, you know, of like just being earth friendly and just being aware, you know, and but also educating yourself and knowing like I could take a class here, you know, and I could learn how to do this. Because my whole thing is like, I love to feed people, but I also, even more than that, I love to teach people how to feed themselves, because then they go back into their own kitchens and they're like, all right, their kids are cooking with them. And then their friends come over and like, oh, what you making? Oh, that tastes good. You know, and it's just like, you ever see that meme that, you know, what my friends think I eat as a vegan, you know?
Right.
It's like, you know, I'm like, let's not even say that word. How about that? How about let's
Right.
not put you know, a stereotypical image in someone's head. Like I eat uncooked, unseasoned tofu and wheatgrass. Hey, awesome. It's so good. You know,
Said no vegan ever.
right, exactly. So just bringing that awareness. So like,
right.
if I inspire one person to like go into their kitchen and rethink how they're doing something, awesome. Then my work's, you know, like great. That's perfect. That's better than just serving some random person, you know, food, you know. So that's basically how that's how I got started. And it's like a constant evolution, you know.
It is.
I call it the muddy embankment, you know, where you're like 1 inch up the muddy embankment, slide down 3 feet. Okay, I'm stubborn.
Yeah.
You know, climb up some more. Like, how can I improve? How can I make a tiny little dent, you know, of like getting other people, you know, to be like, hey, we're going to look at this differently. So I think that's really important. Unfortunately, the area that I live in, I have like no vegan culinary support, because, you know, the culinary scene, the non-existing culinary scene that's happening in my town, it's like burgers, you know, pizza, Mexican food. That's about it, you know.
Sure.
A lot of fast food places, you know, which is so frustrating to me, you know. I'm like, hey,
absolutely.
I need another little vegan place to open up so I can have some place to eat.
I know.
You know?
Well, that was the reason that Lilulo started for me, is because I was tired of not having options. Like, you know what? I don't have any options. I'm going to create one.
Yeah.
That was my mindset. So yes, I completely understand where your frustration is with that.
Yeah.
So, but gosh, you know, everything that you just said there, Liz, I mean, you so encompass like everything that is also in my own mindset, everything that you just put forth there. There's a reason that you and I became connected all those years back and continue to just, you know, feel a vibration between the two of us, even on opposite ends of the country. Everything you said about, you know, it's not about selling food.
No,
it's about feeding people, right? And teaching them how to feed themselves so it's sustainable. It's about giving them the experience of what it means to be plant-based eating.
Yeah.
and just the full circle of it, everything from what you're talking about with health and why you became first interested to giving back to the community with local producers of your food. That's an amazing thing that you put forth all the time. And then right back to composting,
Yeah.
with the food containers that you use, to be able to give that back to the earth, to continue that cycle of just production of plants for the consumption of people, rather than giving it to animals.
Yeah.
As being a middle, guy in that regard. So everything that you say resonates with me so much. And I'm right there on point with you. And one of the things that you really said that stood out to me quite a bit was just, you did it anyways. You didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah.
You didn't know where you were going to do it or how you were going to do it. You didn't have any support. And you said, I got this.
Yeah.
I got it anyways.
Yeah. Well, my mom's like, well, you're about ready. You're on the diving board and there could be water in the swimming pool or there could not be. I don't know. And I'm like, gee, thank you. I'm already having heart attacks every day with like the anxiety of like all the million things it takes. Cause like the building that I got didn't have a kitchen built. So I had to
build out.
And like one of the things like I did that was not normal was that, so I have solar panels on my building. And so I wanted to have an electric hood system with electric stove under there, which is like unheard of. Like most people are like, we're going to get this big giant hood system with, gas burners and everything. And I was like, no, I want it so I can utilize my solar energy,
Right.
And so like, the local building department was like, here's this crazy person coming in with stacks of research and saying please and thank you a lot. And the good old boys are just looking at me like, who is this person? But I got it approved. So
it's only crazy until you do it, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, the learning curve still is just like when you look back on some of the stuff and you're like, hey, I'm doing it, and then you look like all that stress and growth, it's there for a reason. So now you're like, okay, I know how to do that. Okay, move next. Like, what's the next challenge?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that challenge. I mean, what are some of the biggest obstacles, not so much logistically, but in regards to just you not having all those ducks in a row and you jumping in and, not having the support? I mean, does it affect you a lot that people might judge what you're doing in an area where there isn't a vegan option on every other corner?
I mean, I guess like, I love that question. I guess I kind of have that mentality where I made it sure like on my windows that it has a really big letters vegan eatery on there. Like I wanted people not to be confused. Right. Like you're walking into my place and I'm not your normal restaurant, and I'm just a little lunch place. I'm only open for lunch, And so I didn't want the confusion there. And then of course you get the people that are like, what's a vegan? It's like, hey, 2002, Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is a teaching moment, But, my biggest thing was like, I know what I believe in and I know what I want to do. And I'm just going to give it a shot. And if I epically fail, it's not really failure because I don't look at it that when you're focusing on something that you truly believe in and it's your right life path, no matter how that looks, if you're dependent on other people to make you successful, you might as well just forget it.
Right.
Just stay true to your path and then, do your thing. And then hopefully people show up. And, I'm still shocked when I do classes. Like I just finished a meatless meals made easy class series on all the Mondays in February. And I'm still like, after all this years, I've been doing it for teaching for like over 6 years now. And I'm still like amazed. Like people always sign up. I keep my class at 8 students because my kitchen is tiny. It's like a 10 by 10 little space. So it's like playing Tetris, with a bunch of, herding a bunch of feral cats in my little tiny space, trying to, so that's always fun you got a whole bunch of people in there. But like, I just was like, I can't see myself doing anything else. And when you get to that point, you're just like, all right, well, here goes nothing, but I'm going to still do it, even though I don't have the support, like I would like it would be so awesome if I had other like vegan chefs to like at least bounce ideas off,
Right.
or to team up with. I mean, that I don't know what that would even feel like, honestly. Because I'm the only one who's cooking in the kitchen, and I'm the only one serving out the food. So, but yeah, I guess like if it's the right life path, then you do it anyway and hope that people respond. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't mean it's not hard, right? But you just do it anyways, even though it's hard, right? And following that path, it's like you have to just keep bringing yourself back to your why. What is your why? That's something I always tell myself. I really, have a regular conversation with myself in regards to, okay, remember what your why is. Like when things get hard and they really, seem impossible, or the struggles are so real that, you just want to like lock the door and never go back in there. It's like, okay, what is my why? And
exactly,
you start thinking about your how and your where, and, so showing up like that every day is, when you don't have everything in place and you are unsupported, it really has to be internally part of you in who you are and what you want to bring to the people you serve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess for me is that, I love my craft, and I believe that food can heal you. And when I'm doing classes, instead of complicating my little intro, I just usually tell them that I can give them 165 reasons why they should add more vegetables to their plate, because that's how much weight I've lost. So like,
wow, that's an amazing like twist on what you do there with that information.
Right. Yeah. So I'm just like, 165 reasons to add more vegetables to your plate. That's how much weight I've lost. So let's start with that, You
are amazing.
Walking, talking, example. Cause like, you never want to like have someone, and I don't believe in like cramming information down people's throats. I'm not about that. But when people come and ask questions, about like, hey, what about this? And what about that? And how do you do this? And, I don't have time to eat healthy. And I'm like, you don't have time to be sick,
Yeah, it's like choosing your hard. It's hard to be healthy. It's hard to be sick. Which one do you want to do?
Exactly. And trying to just offer that support of being like, you're not alone in this. So if you feel like you need a little bit of guidance, you want a crazy ass person that has a vegan restaurant in Klamath Falls to help you if you need it, like that's what I'm here for,
Yeah. They're walking. One of these days I'm gonna make a trip out your way and I'm gonna walk into your eatery, and I just know that when I walk in there, there's just gonna be this cleansing energy that just overtakes and also like pulls me close and holds me in.
Much more credit than I deserve.
No way. I feel your energy even this far away, and I feel just the good vibes that you put out into the world. And I told you, like, you grossly underestimate yourself, because I can feel you, I see you, and I hear you. And I think that the people that walk into your world on a daily basis just are so inspired, and they absorb so much from you, because you just have so much, not just, actual knowledge and information to put forth, but just that relentless, I'm doing this, whether it's, whether it's the vegan diet or lifestyle change, or whether it's just, that carries over into so many other parts of your life. I mean, that was just and I don't even know anything about your journey prior to you exploring veganism, but I can only imagine that that's the way that you've lived your life in many ways is, you're all in with it. It's like, I'm doing this, I'm taking charge of this, and I'm going to figure it out regardless. And you did, you saw that there was something wrong in regards to your health. You empowered yourself to look for a course, and then you educated yourself more, and then you wanted to teach other people, and then you did, and you kept doing it. You opened your own eatery. You continue to just show people like this, they have a whole other path that they can choose, and you do it all with just not having all the ducks in a row. You just do it with what you have, how you can do it, and you are just awesome at it.
Like I said, you give me too much credit.
No way, that's what I see.
I mean, it's like, the whole ducks in a row thing, like, if we had all our ducks in a row, we'd be like, oh, we're certifiably crazy. Okay, now we're just gonna go to an island somewhere and live and not deal with. I'm like, I feel like it's a process, the evolutionary process is one, it's up and down, ebbs and flows. And one day you're ready to conquer the world, and the other day you're like, I want to stay in my pajamas and eat popcorn for dinner, like, I mean,
that's so true.
But giving yourself that grace to being acknowledged, like, you know what, some days I'm going to be rocking it, other days I'm going to be very unmotivated, and I just want to watch some crazy, Netflix, series or whatever, and, and just allow myself. The resting is hard for me. Like, just allowing myself to rest instead of always pushing, like, what could I be doing more? What could I, how can I do this better? Or like, I should really do XYZ, and I should be doing this and doing that. And, my biggest thing that I have to remind myself is just keeping everything like super sustainable. And that also includes how much I work, and how much I want to take on projects or not take on projects, and that beautiful word, no, it's a magical word, where people are like, that? Cater. I want you to cater for me. I'm like, I'm one person, like, people don't understand that. I'm like, I'm one person. I can't cater for 50 people on a weekend. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, thank you so much.
I love that you love me, but I cannot. I feel that so hard.
It's been one of those lessons, though, of like doing this along the way, where you're like, I sense a crazy burnout mode where I'm going to start running down the street, pulling whatever left of my hair out,
For sure. What's that notion of doing the best you can does not mean running yourself ragged. Right.
No.
It does not mean running yourself into insanity. And that's a hard thing to, I feel like, take in a lot of times, because we are both people of service, and we want to, especially, new people to veganism, or be able to put more out there on a broader scale. It's like, oh, you really want to be able to take such catering things like you're talking about. But it's like, also, you cannot be everybody's everything, or you will be your own nothing.
Right. Exactly.
So it's so hard, though.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is like, okay, well, I'm serving you healthy food, and I'm teaching you how to cook healthy food, and I'm trash.
I was just going to say, you're going home and eating like a bowl of cereal or something. Right. Yeah. That's it. Or peanut butter and jelly. Yes.
I'm like, no, this doesn't work. So I think really that one of the biggest lessons I've taken out of the 2 years that we've been dealing with all the restrictions and everything, and, the cost of goods going up and all these fun things, is that, the people that will support you as far as like customers, they'll be okay if you say, I'm taking a week off, like they come back. Like that's the one thing, like before I was like, yeah, I want to be consistent, but also like I took 2 weeks off, Christmas time. And then we had a big snowstorm and it was just like, all right, I'm taking another week off. And I changed my whole I was working, but I changed my whole menu and stuff. It's like impossible for me not to do that. But I'm like, people that are supportive of what you're doing, they'll come, they'll find you. I have so many travelers coming from Washington or California that are like, oh, we can't believe that we found a vegan place in Klamath Falls. I'm like, yeah. Well, I took the psychology, Chef Mark always said, well, if you want to start your own restaurant, just first you have to take a psychological test. And then if you fail that, then you're perfect for the industry.
We both failed, by the way.
Right.
If you didn't know. But one of the things you just said there about like the people will find you, and that's the difference. Like those are your people, right? The people that are complaining that you're not open till 9 or 10 at night, the people that are complaining that you're not open all weekend or that you closed for 3 weeks, those are not your people. And that's okay. That's the other thing too that I learned is it's okay to not just be that people pleaser mentality. And it's okay to also make sure you're not just eating peanut butter and jelly or cereal at the end of your day. But it's a daily reminder, it's so hard. Even with starting my own day in the morning, just making sure that I drink my vitamin water concoction that I drink every day before I answer emails or before I check my messages. It seems urgent, right? To get back to somebody that is waiting, but it's like, you know what? I need to protect my peace. I need to find my mindset. Rather than just jumping into somebody else's agenda.
Say, I don't answer my phone until after 11. I mean,
you're like my hero.
And this is, again, I learned how to create, because like, here's this beautiful thing. Boundaries are for me, not for you. I'm in the kitchen producing all this food all by myself and trying to make my bread and have a chill morning before chaos ensues,
That's right.
11 o'clock is when I open. I'll answer my phone after 11. And if you want to talk to me about special stuff between 11 and 2, send me an email. And then I'll answer it in my time, usually in the in the evening, but these are all lessons. Like, you don't develop the boundaries and the you don't acknowledge your own need to have health in whatever passionate endeavor you're doing until you have the time to experience the good and the bad. And, from my experience so far is that the ones that are like, oh, when are you going to be open for dinner? It's like, who are you again? Because like, I've seen you once, like you're not a regular customer, or like, oh, you should do this or that. Or I get a random, email, you should offer this, at your place. And I'm like, you've never come to my place. Like, you don't get, like, your opinion is just like static, it's like, people always feel the need to like fill in and tell you how you should be living your life. That includes your business too. And my whole thing is like, I deliberately went into this going, what kind of food do I want to make? Oh, I know I want to do Middle Eastern, because Lebanese ancestry that I have, I like eating that kind of food. That's the kind of food I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to, do too heavy into the, I do specials that, like a veggie burger or whatever, but, but like, what do I want to focus on? And then stick to that. I read somewhere, your menu's got to tell a story. And I think that's a good advice to anyone, like, what's your menu? What story are you telling? People like a story, So, I mean,
I love how you've thought about all that in what you've created for yourself there. I don't know that I thought about any of that, quite honestly. I don't know that a lot of places do, but that's something that you're right. You're absolutely right. People like to hear stories. They like to tell stories. And that's a really interesting way of starting something. The beautiful place you've created, for example.
Well, I mean, it's sort of like where people are like, how do you, because my mother's name is Tira. And, Tara, everyone's like, oh, it's so cute. You named your place after your mom. I'm like, Tira and Tara Veg are two different things. I'm like, no, I did not. First of all.
Yeah.
But basically Tara Veg is because I was, really focused on Mediterranean, mostly Middle East.
Right.
And a little bit of, I took the Terra out of Mediterranean, and it's Latin for earth. And then veg is for, veggies, of course, vegan, whatever you want to take out of it. And so that's how I came up with my name.
Well, that's beautiful.
So, yeah. So I'm like, earth, vegetables. All right.
That's lovely. I love it when I get to hear how names of things were created, and yours is so authentic.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
So I know that you had a little like focus that you wanted to, instead of just talking about my restaurant.
I mean, I think we're hitting it. I think you're telling me all the things I wanted to hear. Yeah, I love just hearing the way your energy transplants itself into your daily work. And I feel like you're describing it all perfectly. Like I said, no real scripted questions needed, because I just love hearing people talk about just their journeys and why they are where they are in their lives, and how they got to where they're at, who they're serving. These are all things that you've just really hit the nail on the head with. I'd love to hear where you feel like you're going, what you feel like you're doing.
That's always, I mean, that's the thing, with us, that's a curse and a blessing, right?
No, who knows? Like, you want to have your arms wide open for just taking in whatever opportunities present themselves, right? Like, that's one thing I know I've learned is, like, you can't be so scripted or on an agenda that you just completely lose your mindset when, not even if, but when it becomes derailed, because it will, right?
Yeah.
So you have to just be arms wide open to the opportunities. But, if I would love to know if you do feel like there's things that you envision for yourself or for your eatery, and how you see yourself evolving even more with, your personal and plant-based journey.
I mean, honestly, like, I think about it all the time, because I don't want, and always around the 3-year mark. So like, we're coming up, March 25th, mark 3 years. I don't know what it is, but on anything I'm doing, I'm like, 3 years coming up, where you're like, okay, what can I do differently? Or what do I want to do more? And like, for this year, I'm going to be teaching more. And I'm really going to be aware of just like not being as rigid as far as like, I have to be open a certain amount of days or hours, like, because honestly, like, what matters is, what message do you want to send out to the world? Like, you can't be, I always feel like when people start talking about how they want to open up their own place or a food truck or something, I'm like, well, if you're doing it just for money, you should pick a different career because this is not, I'm like, you have
let's
to
be real. Okay. Like, we are not millionaires.
Yeah. What it, my boyfriend's like, God, you're such a dream killer. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm just like, I've been living it. So like, I want, people to be like realistic I guess. I mean, that is kind of dream crusher, but be realistic. And so like, I look at things and I'm very realistic. I'm like, all right, well, I want to do this. Is it going to make much money? No, absolutely not. Oh, that's even more exciting, So
yeah,
like,
well, you have to do it for the right reasons, right?
Right,
I mean, anything
exactly.
you do, if you go into it thinking you want to do it, anything just for what you're going to physically, tangibly gain from it, you're going to be disappointed. Now, if I go into something thinking, what am I going to gain in regards to how I've empowered somebody else to explore my plants, like that's priceless to me. That is my payments in so many ways in regards to what are you getting from it? You are doing your part to propel forward the plant-based movement and inspire other people to eat less animals. So, I mean, yes, there's bills to pay. Yes, there's, things that, require money in life, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, though, if you're stepping into any eatery for that or any business, right, thinking, how much money can we make today?
Right.
Like, you won't.
And like
that 3-year mark.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a firm believer that like negative energy, if you're making food, your negative energy, you're stressed out or mad or whatever, it's going into your food and you're serving that and you're sending that energy out the door with your customers, and they maybe get irritated and angry too. It's like, you got to put good vibes into your food.
Yes.
Serving, like do I always do that? No, because, I'm human and I have days where, stuff frustrates me, but
that's right.
As far as like future endeavors, I'm going to expand out my garden because I have a little garden that I grow herbs and like tomatoes and stuff like that. And I use that in my place. So I have the space to expand out. So that's going to be another thing. Another goal for this year is creating a workspace outside so I can do culinary classes out in the garden.
Oh, that's lovely.
So, and I really want to get more primal. So like have like teaching people how to roast vegetables that are growing right there on an open flame. And they'll have to sign a waiver for that. No, it's like, you guys aren't burning the shit out of yourselves.
Right.
Sign a waiver first, but
seriously,
teaching, it's really like the most basic stuff that we've lost throughout the generations. I feel like of like, grandma had a garden, and we roasted things on fire back in the day, and we're losing touch with that. And then we're shocked when we lose touch of nature and what the real reason why we're on this dirty snowball, really, like not to consume and destroy, but to, be sustainable, be proactive in making, the world a better place. That's the hope anyway.
Right. That, contributing.
Yeah. You're doing your, even though if you feel like it's just a tiny little drop in the ocean, you're doing the damn thing,
You're doing the damn thing. That's right.
Doing the damn thing.
That's like the best thing I've heard all day. Just do the damn thing.
That's right.
That's it. And you know what you said earlier too, even if it is just a drop in the sea, even if it is just one person, an audience of one is still an audience. And that one person matters. What they absorb from you matters.
And you never know who you're going to encounter throughout your day that's going to make an impact. Correct. Like you never know like what you're going to say to someone or show them by example that's going to make them kind of like, oh, I never thought about it this way, like I know I mean, you're one of those people that made me go, oh, like, look at what she's doing over here. This is cool. She's a cool ass chick. Like, like it just takes, even when we don't think that we influence people, it's like, all right, be mindful of like what energy you're putting out in the universe, because even if it's just one person that's you're going to impact, you want it to be good. You don't want it to be bad.
For sure.
You know?
And that's not to say we're faking our energy when we're having bad
Yeah.
days either,
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, you can be having a bad day and still see the good.
Yeah, totally.
And still admit that to other people.
We just gotta take care of ourselves first. If we want to,
right.
Try to, get up the money embankment,
For sure. That muddy embankment analogy. I love that.
Right? Yeah. It's like, okay, a lot of spinning my wheels in the mud, but still doing it,
Right.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that we have to remind ourselves that, it's not about perfection. It's about progress, not perfection, and progress could mean so much different for everyone, like I always there's a reason why, I have a tortoise tattoo on my foot, because it's like, I feel like I move very slow in my evolutionary growth process.
Wow.
And so it's like trudging up the hill,
Yeah, but to somebody else, you're racing the fastest race and winning it on so many levels. So it's all about perception of that too.
And again, I know I keep on using that word sustainable, but if you do it, you're working out all the million little pieces. I sort of God, well, in the beginning of creating my own business, it was like my crayon box of 64 colors is rolling around the floor and I'm trying to collect them all, losing my crayons, losing my marbles,
Yeah.
I like some order, but that is not the way it works.
No, it isn't. No, not at all. Order. I don't even know. It's like that ducks in a row analogy. The other end of that is I don't have ducks, I have squirrels, and they're running all over, rampant all over the damn place.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it is. And you just have to roll with the crazy.
Right.
You have to be okay with that. And some days there's tears.
Yeah.
And some days there's laughter. Some days what we need is to hit it hard, and other days we need to just stay in bed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm kind of at that point where as more time progresses, that I'll change things that I'm doing. And then I'm like, all right, well, I don't feel challenged. Now I'm going to change things so I feel a little bit more challenged, but then it's that growth. And then you're like, okay, all right, well, I'm confident in this now. Now I need some more challenge, And so it shifts and changes. So the 5, people always, the people that have the 5-year plan or the 10-year plan, I'm like, I have
those are not our people, Liz.
I'm
those are not our people.
I'm like, what the hell?
Who are you?
Your plan, I'm like, I got my
good for them, right? I guess there's more than one way to do things, but
totally. But does it really work out that way? And I don't think so. Like I said, I mean, honesty and what I do is and having a sense of humor about it, even when I want to scream some days, I think that's, a healthy approach. At least it works for me, I need
to get better on that laughter part. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm more chuck it in the fucking bucket.
Yeah,
and
right.
That's where I'm going to leave it and now move on. Yeah. I don't know that I'm to the point where I can laugh at it so much, but I'm working on that. I could learn lessons from you in that regard for sure.
Well, I mean, I think that honestly, it's all experiment anyway, right? So you just have to be all right, well, this is experiment, it could be good, could be bad, we don't know, it's oh, this concept sounds cool, okay, wow, I've just created a whole bunch of work for myself, but it's going to be awesome in the end, right? Maybe. We don't know, we don't get to know that. I don't want the crystal ball for sure.
Oh, yeah. And that's funny because people always say that, oh, if we only had a crystal ball, but I think if you did, you probably wouldn't want it.
No.
Would you really look?
No. I'm good.
Yeah. No, I'd
But
rather wait and see myself.
I mean, I definitely feel like creating food, teaching, it'll be something that I'll always do. I don't know what that looks like for
Right.
like long term.
I
You know?
mean, there's your book coming out that I know that has to be coming out at
Right.
some
Yeah.
point
Right.
because like you just
The
have
same
so
book
much.
the same book that is still just gonna sit in there, and every time I look at it, I'm like, I want to change that. I want to change that.
That's all right. It's a journey, it just hasn't, had enough of the magical dust yet, but I definitely foresee that coming for you at some point because the way you write out like your recipes and your classes and just the way you organize and teach it, I see that there's something coming.
Well, I'm glad you see
with
it.
that. I see it. I mean, it might be next year, it might be in 10 years, but I definitely see something like that in your future. So while we don't have a crystal ball, I feel like when it's good that we don't, I feel like all the things that we might take out that we didn't like in that crystal ball are the things that are going to get us to the purposeful things in our journeys, right?
Yeah.
Like we stumble to get to the end. We have to fail before we can succeed.
Yep.
But if we could see all those failures ahead of time, we'd probably avoid them, and then we would end up with a different result and not succeed at all.
Well, I think success is like really doing what you believe in, and then just doing your best. I think that's what success is. At the end of the day, where you're like, all right, well, I'm doing what I really believe in, and maybe it impacted a couple of people. I don't know. I fed a couple of people today,
Yeah.
Again, like with the teaching is like, I feel like that has more of an impact than doing regular, like I don't do regular food service, like no one would ever accuse me of what I do is normal food service because it's not, So like, I definitely feel like eventually that part, I always joke around like one of these days I'm just going to train someone how to do it. They can do this part, lunch service, while I'm over here doing something else. But I don't know if I could let that go, not that I'm a control freak, but it would be hard. Like I care about how each plate goes out. So I don't know if someone that's just working for me would give that same consideration.
That's always the challenge. It has to be the right person, and that person will be hard to find. But I have faith that you could find them because you'll want somebody to carry on your legacy when either you want to just have time off or when you just can't or choose not to do what you're doing anymore. It's important to keep that rolling. So maybe one of your students, just how you started, you'll see something in somebody that is a glimpse of promise in that regard, and you'll invite them to join you to a future class, perhaps to assist you.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
You never know. Look for those opportunities.
You may decide to move to Oregon, and then
you never know. I could move to Oregon. I mean, nothing's impossible. Right. I would love to assist you. That would be like a dream.
I don't know. I don't know if the universe is ready for that.
Oh, that would be some powerful energy in your kitchen. Yeah. Wow. I'd be so intimidated by your art and your craft.
No, hardly. You could teach me a thing or two, which reminds me that I don't know if I told you, but that little clip you did on how to dissect the pomegranate, I did one of my Middle Eastern classes. I totally took that.
Yes.
My friend Sarah, and I showed them how to do it, and then I just let them do it.
That's awesome. And that's exactly that right there. That is what it's about,
Because I was like, what a genius idea. I'm like, put it in water. It always makes such a mess. And I start, I start twitching when things are super messy. I was like, genius.
Yeah. No, that warms my heart that you use that in the class. That's exactly what it's about, is those little pieces of information. Even if you're the only one that took something away from that, it was worth it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And that's how I feel when I do stuff and I'm telling people how I want things prepped, and they're like, use a spoon to peel your ginger. And
Mark would be so proud of us, wouldn't he? All these little things
right.
that, like, because I think I got that from Mark originally. I don't know about you,
I
peeling
definitely
ginger with a spoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely got him. Yeah.
Oh, Liz, this has been so fun, and we're gonna have to do it again because
Yeah,
I just love talking to you.
Yeah.
I love talking to you. Is there anything that you would like the listeners to just hear from you about or know about you? What would you like to leave them with today as we end our visit?
That's a hard one. Jeez. You've had me talking this whole time. Now you're like, anything else? No, I just think that like anyone should just treat food as a culinary adventure, and like, don't be afraid of just going in and burning stuff in the kitchen and experimenting.
Yes.
Just like when I teach, I'm like, don't worry about like the recipe is just a suggestion. Let's talk about variation.
Yes.
Like, we're all busy people. I'm like, but going back at the end of the day, it's like, I don't have time to cook healthy. It's like, no, you don't have time to be sick. That's what you need, like quality of life. And it's, again, not about perfection. It's about, all right, I'm gonna, add more vegetables to my plate. And whether I aspire to be a vegan or not, I'm doing healthy things for my body to give myself, health on all levels. It's not just physical, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, vibrating on just a healthy, frequency, and that's what it's about. And it doesn't have to be complicated, and it should be fun because, we humans, we have short attention spans and we like things to be fun. They're not fun. It feels like work. It can be a little bit more challenging, right?
For sure. I have loved every minute of this conversation with you.
Me too.
And I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy, for sure, I know, busy day to connect with me for a little while. And we will definitely do this again. Yes, we will do it again soon.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you're doing it, because like, I don't know if I could do stuff like this,
Oh, you can. I expect this from you in the future. Oh, no. I'll be on your podcast next. You'll see.
Yeah,
that's where it's going. Thank you, Liz.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Keep on spreading the vegan love.
You as well.
All right. You take care. Friend. All right. Bye.
I hope you loved that conversation as much as I did. Here were my top 3 takeaways from my conversation with Chef Liz. 1, you cannot be everyone's everything, or you will become your own nothing. 2, we're either going to make time for wellness, or we're going to make time for sickness. 3, don't let recipes intimidate you, and just use them as a template. Work with what you already have. Food should be fun, not challenging. If you've loved this episode, or even just want to show your support, please rate, review, and definitely share it with a friend. Ways to contact both Liz and I are in the show notes. You can send me your direct feedback via the listed website link, or even call in. Thanks so much for the love, and I'll see you again next Thursday.